We are a few episodes in, and the main focus of Born Curious is obviously to be having conversations with super interesting people that are doing inspiring stuff like entrepreneurs, psychologists, thinkers, maybe even some actors, athletes. We'll see. I know it's broad, but I'm a curious person and I really want to learn and speak to as many people as I can to learn different perspectives on the world and life and business and our mind and how we can become better. And hopefully I can share those insights with you guys. But something I also want to be doing is I want to sit here one-on-one with you and have these conversations to kind of share insights, what I've learned, and to share with you the reason behind why I want to do this. Um, and so the reason I started this podcast is because naturally I'm someone who loves to connect with people. At my core, I have potential to be a really, really strong communicator, but potential is only useful if you put in the work to reach or exceed that potential. And so that's what this podcast is for me. It's a vehicle for me to become a master communicator. And it's a massive goal, but that is why I started the podcast. And so this podcast, I just wanted to share with you that. And also I wanted to talk about some things I learned from the first few podcasts that I did about my communication journey, where I can improve what I'm happy with, and also kind of like where this is all going. Not a crazy structure to this podcast, but I wanted to have this one-on-one conversations with you guys, and we'll kind of see where it takes us. So why communication? Why does it matter to me? Well, one, I told you guys before, I think it's something that I'm naturally good at, but like I said, potential is nothing without reps and putting in the work. And the bigger vision for why I want to be a master communicator and become world class and communicate with the best of them is because I want to be able to connect deeply with anybody. I think connection is what brings fulfillment in our lives, especially for me. And I don't want to have any barriers stopping me from being able to walk up to someone on the street and start a conversation, to being able to stand on stage and speak to people, to hundreds of people, and hopefully inspire people with my words. I want to inspire the younger generation. I have a lot to share about my story with ADHD, and I would love to inspire younger kids or teenagers or even people in their 20s to 30s with my story and what I've learned about ADHD and how it can be a superpower. But without the skill of communication and becoming world class, I won't be able to communicate these things well enough to inspire and to hopefully change people's lives. And so that's the mission. And then that's why communication matters to me. But what I've quickly learned with mastery and saying that I want to be a master communicator and having the mission and the why, that stuff is important, but to put in the actual reps is hard. The reason it's hard is because it takes a long time. Honestly, I think a lot of mastery comes with just having the bandwidth to stick with that thing for long enough. And I think there's two components. I think like finding what you're naturally good at can help you a lot. I think that it's really difficult, from my own experience, it's really difficult to stick with anything that I'm not necessarily like, that I'm not interested in, or that I'm not super passionate about, or that I'm not actually naturally good at. I think that when you find something that you're passionate about, while also finding something that you're naturally good at, I think you can skip a lot of the steps. I think that you don't necessarily need 10,000 hours to become a master if you're naturally good at it, if you like it. I think maybe you can do 5,000 hours. So I think that's part of it. But then the second part of it is really like, it's going to take time. And so a mantra that I love from Tiger Woods that I've been reminding myself is the short story about Tiger Woods is his dad obviously like pretty much groomed him into the best golfer ever. And one of the things that he did is he gave his son a cassette tape with a bunch of self-help tapes. And one of the mantras and quotes that he wrote on his wall and that he said to himself every single day is, "I stick with it easily and naturally. I stick with it easily and naturally." And the reason I say that to myself and why I think stuff like that is so important is because our brains don't process that if we stick with something for 5 years, we will become a master, or 10 years, we'll become a master. Like, that's logically true, but it's like our brain can't process that feeling, what it actually feels like. We're programmed to want to be comfortable and to want to get that dopamine right now. And so it's really easy to just take the short thing, do the thing that feels good right now, but that's not going to help you 5 years down the road. So you have to figure out ways to trick your brain into believing that it's worth it to do this podcast, even though nobody's going to listen for the first maybe 3 years, maybe never. I have to trick my brain into, because every single day I have negative thoughts like, what's the point of doing this? Podcasts are so saturated. How are you ever going to be big enough to like make money from this? Right? There's all these negative, and so my brain just wants to do the quick and easy thing, but I have to keep reminding myself and figure out different ways to trick my brain into believing that it's worth it to do this thing. So I think that's something that I even have struggled with in the first few episodes, first few weeks, is just staying positive and just trusting the process and knowing that it'll smoothen out. I think that, yeah, it'll smoothen out. But I think the important thing to remember is just that the brain resists discomfort and it can't actually process. It doesn't care about 5 years from now. And so you have to figure out ways to trick your brain into doing the thing that will make you a master in 5 to 10 years, not the thing that makes you feel good right now. And what's interesting about that is we kind of talked about the negative thoughts and how our brain works and how our brain is almost against us in a sense, because it's hard for us to put ourselves in the shoes of 10 years from now, right? And how I personally try to kind of deal with that. But something that helps reinforce to keep doing what you're doing is after you do the thing. And for me, when I have a podcast scheduled, I feel really anxious beforehand, and I almost feel like I don't want to do it. Like it's like everything in my brain is telling me to like make an excuse, cancel it, don't do the thing, because I'm nervous and it just feels scary. It feels like a burden almost, right? Once I get into the conversation, and this goes for not just conversations for me, like with my podcast, this is for anybody that is doing anything that they found that they enjoy and that they're trying to master. Once you do the thing, you get into flow state. There's nothing like it. You're so present and in the moment that this is the most fulfilling thing, is to be doing that thing that you love and being so present that there's no worries in the world. And then after you do the thing, it's just a reminder. I tell myself I have like a high after the podcast. I'm driving home or whatever, I'm reflecting on it. I just feel like I'm on the top of the world. I have this high, and when I'm in that feeling, when I feel great about it, I remind myself that this is what I'm meant to do. And so I'm trying to reprogram my brain to like, this feels good. After doing the thing, I feel like I'm on the top of the world. This is what you're meant to be doing. And I just keep reinstilling that this is what I'm meant to be doing. And I think that helps with the repetition and being able to stick with it easily and naturally for a long enough time to become a master. And I think whenever you have that type of feeling after doing the thing, I think it's a reminder that you're on the right path. Next, I want to talk about the lessons that I've learned so far within my own communication. So these are the things that I've reflected on from my first 3 or 4 podcasts. Lesson number 1, slow down. Silence is power. From watching back my podcasts and cringing heavily, I realized that I'm not thinking about what I'm going to say. I'm speaking super fast when I respond, and it causes filler words. It causes me to mess up sentences, and then it just causes me to speak not fluently. And I think it messes with the tone and the feel of the conversation. And so I've reminded myself to slow down, let there be silence. So when it happens, when obviously I'm asking questions, listening and responding and asking more questions. And so it often happens when I'm really excited about something, and as soon as they're done talking, I instantly spit out what I want to say. And it's like a response, either like I'm responding or responding and asking a question. And I'm just processing it. I'm not listening presently enough. And I'm just word vomiting. And like I said, what happens is I start to use more ums, ahs, likes, all these filler words. I mess up sentences. So I say half the sentence, mess up, have to restart and say it again. And I'm mumbling a ton. And it's not good for the conversation. And so what I've been trying to do is slow down, listen better to what they're saying, let it process, think a little bit about what I'm going to say. Just, it's not even like thinking, like I'm not thinking the exact thing I'm going to say, but it's like just they say something, take a breath, process what they just said, and then speak with confidence and composure slowly and get the words. And it's like there's more precision with the words that I'm saying. Right. I've probably done it in this podcast this episode where I've spoken way too fast and messed up words. I might cut some of that stuff out, but that's lesson number 1. Lesson number 2 is prepare less. And I know that sounds contradictory. And the last thing I would ever want to do is disrespect a guest by under preparing and not knowing them enough. But let me explain. When I over prepare, I lose my presence in the moment. And I'm trying to like follow a script. I have all these questions lined out up in order to what I think will be the best sequence. I have this like narrative in mind that I want to capture. And like I said, it kills my presence in the moment. And what I learned, and I tested it yesterday actually in a podcast, is just prepare enough, but don't come with like questions. And so for me now, my process is research the person, figure out what they do, what they care about, and what am I interested about? Why am I interested in them? What do I find interesting, right? What piques my curiosity about what they're doing? Have they written a book? Can I read it, right? I will do the preparation and the research on the person so I can know and ask them the right questions and be interested in them, right? And maybe even come up with some questions or ideas that I want to talk to them about, right? But when I show up to the podcast, I shouldn't be showing up with this list of questions, right? Because what that does is it makes me so focused on reading the list of questions and it takes away from my curiosity. And so what I've done now is I've focused on just leading with my curiosity. And once I've done that research that I said I do before, now when I'm here in the conversation, I can just follow my curiosity. I have a kind of an overarching goal or an idea of what I kind of want to learn from this person or what I want to get the audience to learn from this person. But then I just throw all that away and just be present and try to connect deeply with this person, find what they're interested in them, what makes them interested, why they do what they do, and just let the conversation flow from there. And I was really proud of myself yesterday because I stuck with my gut. I was a little nervous to not bring any questions on a piece of paper, but it ended up so much better because there wasn't a moment in the whole episode where I didn't know what to ask next until the end where we kind of talked about everything and I ended the conversation. But I was just so much more present and in the flow, and I had to rely on my listening because I didn't have a piece of paper to ask the next question, right? I just had the research I had done before in my brain somewhere and the ability to listen and just like work off of them. I heard this idea from Stephen Bartlett because he's someone that over prepares, is he builds these narratives and he's unbelievable. Him and his team are unbelievable at what they do. And he had this situation where he researched the wrong guest. And so when he showed up on the podcast, his producer said, "Yep, ready to go." And he didn't even know the person's name, right? And this podcast ended up being one of the most downloaded podcasts and one of the best conversations he's ever had. And what he ultimately learned from this situation was to be a good interviewer, you don't lead the conversation, you follow in the conversation. And when you let the guest lead the conversation, you actually find out where they want to take it. You find out what they actually want to talk about. And it leads to a deeper connection with this person. I think that's a lesson not only for interviewing people, but just in general. If you want a deeper conversation and you're asking questions and you're learning about this person, you want a better connection with that person, let them lead it. Ask them questions and listen. And you'll find out where they want to take it, what they want to talk about, what excites them. And when I come with all this preparation and questions to the conversation, I don't allow myself to do that. So that was a big lesson for me, is never prepare. No, but prepare a little less and be more present in the conversation and follow my curiosity. and be led by the interviewee. I think lesson 3 is a small one, but stillness speaks. I think many times when I'm listening, I'm saying, yeah, 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 way too much. And I don't think it's needed. I think it can interrupt a little bit. And I think what's more important is just to give like a slight gaze and maybe a soft nod to just really show you're listening and they can feel heard. And I think another thing that I do is I get excited when I have another question or want to say something and bounce off what they're saying. And I won't say anything, but I'll kind of give like one of these almost like I want to say something and they can feel that and see it on my facial expression. And I think that might mess up their train of thoughts and they might end their sentence earlier. So those are 2 things, just slight, like very small adjustments that I can make that I will be making. And that's lesson 3, just a simple one. And I think lesson 4, I already talked about a little bit, but I just want to reemphasize it, is that flow lives on the other side of fear. Before recording, I was super nervous and overthinking took over for all of my podcasts. Even the next one, I'll probably have the same thing. But once you start, you're in your element. And that's all the proof you need to do it again, right? And that's just a reminder to myself. And that is pretty much all for this one-on-one episode. I appreciate you guys for listening, and I'm really excited to go on this journey with you. And the vision for the next 5 to 10 years is to continue to bring on the most inspiring and the most interesting and the wisest people in the world on this podcast, to bring you guys wisdom, insights, and to help you grow and take that next step and live a better life, whether it's we're learning about our psychology from a therapist or psychologist, or we're learning about business from an entrepreneur, or we're getting life advice from an athlete. My goal is to bring on the very best and to have deep, unfiltered conversations. And for me, I'm going to keep showing up one conversation, one rep at a time, and I know where this leads. And I got one question to end this off, and this is for you. What is something in your life that you love that could potentially be your path to mastery? And when you find it and you decide that's the path to take, keep reminding yourself that you stick with it easily and naturally. I'm out. See you guys in the next one.